Jingle bells, 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 bells.
Piano in the bell, 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 bell.
Jingle bell,
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. Today's video is going to be a makeup tutorial on this look. I love going to Snapchat and Twitter to ask you all what you guys want to see next for my tutorials, and I had you guys vote on two different looks, a soft gold with a red lip or a dark smoky kind of silver glittery look with another red lip, and they were both very popular, and this one won by just a little bit on both my Twitter and my Snapchat. So I thought I would kind of do this one first for you all, but I will be doing the other one a little bit later since a lot of you guys personally messaged me saying you want to see that look as well. But I thought I would do this one today for you all. I love how it turned out. It's so simple, just very soft glam, but I love the red lip. I think it's perfect for the holidays. And I did do a talk through tutorial this time since, again, I know a lot of you guys have been requesting me to do more, and I don't really do too many on my channel anyways. So please give this video a big thumbs up if you like this kind of style of video and tutorial, and if you want to see more of them from me in the future. But if you do want to see how to recreate this look for the holidays, then just keep on watching. So I already moisturized my face and I did my brows off camera to save us a little bit of time because it takes me quite a while to do my brows. So I thought we would jump right into the eye makeup. So the first thing I'm going to do is prime my eyes. I'm taking the LA Girl Pro Conceal, and I have this in the color Natural. I love using this as an eye primer because it has a lot of pigment to it and a lot of coverage. I have a bunch of veins on my eyes which I like to cover up, especially when we're not going to be doing too much on the eyes. So this is a great eye primer. It really makes your eyeshadow last all day long. So I'm just going to be brushing this on, just using my finger for this. As you can see, it just automatically just kind of took away all of the discoloration on my eyes. And then what I like to do before I move on to the eyeshadow, I just like to take any powder. You can use the translucent powder or the one you're going to use for your face. I just like to take this, and I'm using this on a Sigma E50 brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my primer so all of these shadows kind of blend nicely on top. I feel like if I don't do this step, all of my shadows are just going to kind of skip on my eye. So adding the powder really helps create a nice base for the other eyeshadows you're going to put on top, so they blend nice and evenly. So for this look, we're really not going to be doing anything too crazy on the eyes. The first thing I'm going to do is actually just going to take the bronzer that I'll be using later. This is by Neutrogena. It's their Healthy Skin Blends Natural Radiance Bronzer in the color Sunkissed number 30. So I'm just going to be taking this. It has kind of like 4 different colors there. So I'm using this on my Morphe MB23 brush. It's like a really nice fluffy tapered blending brush. And I'm just going to be swirling my brush in the middle of the bronzer and using this as my transition shade. This is the only color we're really going to be using in our crease and in our outer V, because the other colors we'll be using is the gold shades. I'm just kind of doing windshield wiper motions back and forth for this part. So now that we have our transition color in our crease, I'm going to be taking the e.l.f. I think this is called the Aqua Liquid Molten Eyeshadow. This is in the color Liquid Gold. You can use anything that you have that is a cream eyeshadow that is gold. I really like using cream eyeshadows as a nice base before I go on top of it with a pigment to make it really stand out, especially using something similar to the color you'll be using on top of it. So I'm just going to be taking this and kind of just placing this right on my lid area from inner corner to outer corner. And now before that dries completely, before I move on to the other eye, I'm going to be using the Ulta Glitter Eye Top Coat. This is like their pressed little pigments that are really glittery and shimmery. This is in the color Gold Digger. It looks just like this. It's so stunning. I'm just going to be using my finger to kind of pack this on top of that liquid shadow. We're just going to be placing it right on top, and as you can see, it just adds so much color and it just makes the pigment pop. And if you need to, if you got something in your crease, you got a little bit more pigment, just take the same brush we used for our bronzer and like our crease shade and just kind of work it back and forth without any product on it. And it's going to be blending it out so we have no harsh lines. So that's pretty much it for the eyes. It's really simple, but we are going to be adding a winged liner. If you don't like winged liner, you can totally stop here. I feel like adding liner just makes it a little bit more dramatic. So the combo that I like to use is the Kat Von D Tattoo Liner in the color Trooper, as well as the NYX Matte Liquid Liner. So I actually don't think I need to use the other one today, so I'm just going to be using Kat Von D, and now it's going to be the hard part to make this match on the other side. Wish me luck. Now that we have our liner on, I'm going to move on to mascara. I do like wearing false lashes, so I will be just applying one little coat of this. This is the Maybelline The Rocket Volume Express. Now for false lashes today, I will be using one of my absolute favorites. These are actually by MAC. They're in the number 48. So they are a little bit dirty, but they are some of my favorite lashes. They're really nice, fluffy and wispy lashes. So if you don't want something like the dramatic kind of like crisscross or really spiky, these are very, very fluffy. They look quite natural. They're super lightweight, and again, they are one of my favorites. I always get quite a few questions from you guys on how I apply my false lashes. So I love to use the House of Lashes lash glue. This is a crucial step. I don't like using a lash glue that's going to kind of peel up during the day. So this one is my favorite. It lasts so long on my eyes and my lashes never move. So what I like to do is I like to apply a thin layer of the lash glue on the lash band like that. And I also like to apply my lashes with tweezers. I know a lot of people can do it with their fingers, but I'm not that person. So I like to use tweezers, and these are the ones that I've been really loving recently. They are kind of like a curved shape. It kind of curves the lash like it would naturally kind of lay on your eye when you're kind of putting it on, which makes it so much easier than like a little tweezer like I used to use. The easiest thing to do when you're applying lashes is to let the glue dry. Make sure you're waiting at least 30 seconds to a minute until it gets tacky. This one kind of turns like blue and it's not really bright anymore. It's kind of like a darker color. So that's when I know it's time to put on my lashes. And if you have trouble with strip lashes that are super long, I used to cut mine in half and put them on in 2 sections, because what I like to do is I like to kind of place it right in the center of my eye first and then put down the corners. So I'm just gonna lay this down as close to my natural lash line as possible, and then I like to go in the corners, start with the outside corner and then go on the inside corner. Alright, now moving on to the face. Now that we have our lashes done, I'm going to be priming my face. The first thing I'm going to use is my Estee Pore Vanishing Stick. This is amazing if you have large pores and areas you need to fill in on your face. So I just like to focus this right on my cheeks, on my nose, a little bit on my forehead, and then on my chin. And I also like to kind of press it in to make sure it really gets in there. In addition to the pore minimizing primer, I also like to use one that is matte since I'm super oily. So the one I'm going to be using today is by Rimmel. It is their Stay Matte Primer. So I'm just going to be taking about a dime size amount of that on my fingers, and it's going to work this right into my skin. Now I do want my skin to glow just a little bit, so I'm going to be taking the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Liquid Glow Illuminator in W101. This is their like goldy colored one, so I'm just going to be taking the smallest amount of that, like just a little bit. I'm not going to be mixing this in with my foundation. This is actually just going to go right on the high points of my cheeks right here. I'm not going to be too precise with it since we're putting foundation on top. A little bit over my brows, down my nose. And because we use a small amount and we're only precisely putting it where we want it, it's not going to make us look super, super oily, especially because we're not mixing it with the foundation. It just gives like a nice natural glow. I don't know if you guys can see that on the skin. So now for foundation, we're going to be going in with my new favorite drugstore one. I did a whole video on this foundation. This is by L'Oreal. This is their Infallible Total Coverage. I'm using the color 303. I haven't updated you guys on my thoughts on this foundation in the description box of that video, and I do kind of have some more thoughts about this. So make sure you check that out if you wanted to hear more about this the longer that I've been using it. I'm going to be working this on my skin. I like to work in sections when I do my foundation, so I'll do like half my face and then I'll do the other half. And then to blend this in, I'm using my favorite Morphe E6 brush. Now that our foundation is all blended in, I'm going to be going in with a concealer. I like to use a mixture of 2. The first one I like to use is by MAC. This is their Pro Longwear Concealer. I'm using it in the color NW20. I like this concealer because 1, it's super easy to blend out, and 2, it covers so much. It lasts so long. All you need is like half a pump of this. So I'm just going to be doing 3 little dots under my eyes. And then I like to put a little bit on my forehead, down the bridge of my nose, on my chin, and then on the top of my lip. And then I like to use my damp Real Technique sponge to blend this out. I'm going to be using this first, and then we're going to be going in with a little bit more of a brightening concealer afterwards. Now to brighten under my eyes, I'm taking my Wet n Wild Illuminati Highlighting and Concealing Pen. This is in the color Ivory Into You, and I'm almost out of this. So what I like to do is I like to focus this a little bit farther down, not super under the eye, because I want this to be quite illuminating and brightening. To set everything in place under my eyes where I put the concealer, I'm actually going to be trying a new product. This is by Kat Von D. It's her Lock-It Brightening Powder in the color Golden. I was a little bit nervous about this because it looks quite dark, so we'll see how this looks under my eyes. And then to apply this, I'm just going to be using my sponge. I'm just going to be taking a little bit of this because I don't know how this is going to look under my eyes. I normally use the translucent powder, but I wanted to try this today. Ooh, that is really dark. Nope. Okay, that didn't work. That's really, really dark. All right, since that was a fail, I'm going to be going in with my trusty Laura Mercier translucent powder. And again, just using my Real Technique sponge. This is still damp. I'm going to be just pressing this into the skin where I put my concealer and highlight. I'm also going to be putting this powder everywhere else that I want to set my concealer. I also like applying this in my smile lines to make sure that they don't crease, as well as around the nose. Now to set the rest of my face, I like to go in with the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Natural. This is in the color Medium, and I like taking that on a really, really big fluffy powder brush. This is by Real Techniques, and I'm really not picking up too much product with this. And I'm just going to be pressing this into my skin, and where I did put that translucent powder, I like to take a little bit of this and just kind of like wipe it away so you don't have any excess, and just buff it into the skin after I press it. This isn't going to give you too much extra coverage. It is more of a sheer powder, but it does give the skin a beautiful finish. For contour today, I'm going in with the Wet n Wild contouring palette. This is the color Caramel Toffee, and I'm just going to be taking the contour shade on my e.l.f. angled blush brush. Very, very light-handed with this because this is quite pigmented, and I like to focus this right at the tops of my ears and then bring it down into the hollows of my cheeks. I don't like to go any farther than like right here, kind of where it's aligned with the end of my brow. So it's going to be kind of buffing this into the cheekbones. Now going back in with the bronzer I used earlier, again this one was by Neutrogena. I'm just going to be taking this with my e.l.f. Kabuki face brush and swirling this into my cheeks. The easiest way to apply bronzer sometimes is doing it in a 3 motion or like 3E motion. So you're going to get the tops of your face right in the hollows of your cheekbones, again a little bit higher than where you place your contour, and then right underneath your chin as well. So for blush, I wanted something that was going to match the lips, so I'm going to take the Wet n Wild Color Icon blush in the color Mellow Wine. This is a very, very pigmented blush, so you want to be careful with it. I'm going to be applying it with the Morphe M142. Just going to be lightly tapping my brush in here, taking off the excess and applying this right to the apples of my cheeks and blending it a little bit backwards. You can just see how pigmented that is, and I barely picked up any product, but it's such a beautiful blush. So to blend that out, I'm going to be taking the Sigma Duo Fiber brush. This is the F50. I'm just going to be buffing the bronzer, contour, and blush together to make sure there's no harsh lines, everything is blended, and it kind of takes away a little bit of the pigmentation since this is a super pigmented blush. For highlight today, I wanted to try out a new product. This is by Tarte. It is their Skin Twinkle Volume 2 palette. It looks exactly like this. And I think I'm going to actually mix the Spotlight and Candlelight shades, which are the 2 darker ones, because I want a little bit more of a goldy glow. And I'm going to be applying this with my Anastasia A23 brush. Look how gorgeous that is. It's so pretty. I'm also going to be taking this on the bridge of my nose a little bit and on my Cupid's bow. While I'm at it, I'm also going to be highlighting the brow bone arch in the inner corner of my eye. So I'm going to be taking the color Spotlight, which is this one right here. It's like a kind of pale gold champagne, and I'm going to be putting this in the inner corner of my eye with my Sigma pencil brush number E30. Applying this right on the inner corner just to brighten everything up. And applying this right underneath the brow bone, the highest part of my arch. Now just to finish off the eyes quickly, I'm going to be going in with the Morphe M432. This is just like a flat shader brush like this, again with the bronzer. And I'm going to be applying this underneath my eyes so we have a little bit more dimension before we apply our mascara. And then last but not least, I'm just going to be applying some mascara to my bottom lashes. Before I apply my lip color, I'm going to go change my shirt and fix my hair, and I'll be right back. To finish off the look, we're going to be applying a red lip. So the first thing I'm going to go in with is by MAC. This is a lip pencil in the color Brick. I'm going to wear something that's a little bit more bold and bright. I don't like to overline my lips, so I'm just going to be following the natural line of my lips. And then the lip color that we're going to be using today is by Stila. This is their Stay All Day liquid lipstick in the color Fiery. And then last but not least, I don't like my makeup to go absolutely anywhere and I want it to last all day long. So I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Infallible Makeup Extender Setting Spray. So that's it for this look. I hope you all really enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I love you all so very much. I hope you have a wonderful holidays, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!